When you hear someone say, "Our plan has run into a wall," why are you able to understand that it doesn't mean that something has actually hit an actual wall? Or when someone says, "I'm fuming," why do you know that that means they're angry even though there is no fire to be seen? Or that if someone says, "The decision rests on our shoulders," how do you know that there is nothing actually on their shoulders? It's because you understand the metaphor they're using. They're using something familiar to paint a picture that helps you understand what they're saying. Wait, I just used a metaphor to help you understand what a metaphor is. Did you get that? Metaphors can be idiomatic and conventional, like run into a wall, fume, or rest on one's shoulders. But they can also have very deep meanings that resonate with us and help us make sense of the world. People can use metaphors to inform, relate to, and convince you that how they see the world is how you should see the world too, through a phenomenon called framing. How this is done and why you should be aware of it is the topic of this video, the power of metaphor. A metaphor is basically saying one thing in terms of another thing. For example, we evoke the metaphor "life is a journey" by saying something like, "There were a few bumps in the road, but we finally decided to continue," even though we're not talking about an actual road. I might evoke the metaphor "thoughts are volatile substances" by saying something like, "Dude, that literally blew my mind," even though my head never actually blew up. Wait a minute, why does the word "literally" mean both "it actually happened," as in "he is literally dead," and "it is like it is happening," as in "I am literally dead"? Well, it used to have only the meaning of "actually," as if it were actually written down, which you see in its Latin root, litera. Some people, however, started using "literally" to emphasize or exaggerate, and now it's become a contronym, a word or phrase that has two opposite meanings, so be careful. Now, did that literally make your head explode? I hope not. A metaphor uses figurative language, not literal language. To say, "I'm dead," is a metaphorical way to say, "I laughed so hard that I died," reflecting the metaphor that laughter is medicine, to the point where the person has overdosed. Grammatically, a metaphor typically involves a subject and a subject complement connected by a linking verb like be. For example, time is money. A relationship is a journey. However, metaphors aren't usually stated directly, but instead they're evoked by other language. For example, "We're wasting time" evokes the metaphor that time is money. "We decided to go our separate ways" evokes the metaphor that a relationship is a journey. A metaphor isn't just something someone uses to be witty, or something a poet or a writer uses to make their writing pretty. It's a suggestion that the listener or reader should consider a new thing in terms of a familiar thing. For example, if someone says, "That guy is a beast," it means that he's strong, skilled, and focused. William Shakespeare had Romeo say, "Juliet is the sun," because Romeo equated her with something radiant and life-giving that woke him up. In other words, a metaphor provides a frame for thinking about the subject in a certain way. This means that when you use a metaphor, either directly or indirectly, you are proposing that the listener use a particular cognitive frame to understand what you're saying. And when you hear a metaphor, you are being asked to use a cognitive frame, whether you realize it or not. Businesses use metaphors in advertisements to get us to buy their products. For example, cosmetics are claimed to help us fight wrinkles, look younger, and feel better. This reflects a metaphor like aging is illness, even though aging is entirely natural. Toothpaste and mouthwash are sold with the idea that mint is clean, even though there is nothing inherently clean about the flavor mint, and toothpaste could be flavored like many other things and still be effective. Coffee-flavored toothpaste? Banana-flavored mouthwash? Why not? Also using metaphors, politicians and media are also very good at spinning words and actions into messaging that is coherent with particular ideologies. These metaphors create cognitive framing that makes us think a certain way. For example, In September 2022 in the US, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis had Venezuelan refugees flown to an island in New England known for its vacation homes of his liberal political opponents. This action was coherent with the metaphor of immigration is a flood, which makes people think that immigrants and refugees are unwanted, threatening, and overwhelming, just like a literal flood. However, people in nearby cities like Boston and New York did not share this frame. They responded by helping the refugees, maybe because they were more influenced by metaphors like immigrants are orphans, since their cities were historically populated and built by immigrants. Are immigrants a flood to be stopped, or children who need help? It depends on your frame. If a politician evokes a metaphor that conflicts with your understanding, you could respond by using their frame. For example, if you don't think immigration is overwhelming, you might say, "We can handle the flood." However, if you really want to counter it, you should use your own frame and respond instead with something like, "It's our obligation to provide the care they need," which is coherent with your metaphor. So how can you be aware of metaphor? First, realize that metaphorical language is used everywhere, but the underlying metaphors are not obviously stated. Anyone trying to tell you a story, teach you something, or convince you of something may be using metaphors to help you understand a new idea in terms of something you're more familiar with. We share many deep metaphors like life is a journey or personality is temperature without realizing it. The next time you hear things took a wrong turn or he's a cool guy, maybe you will. If someone says something that seems like a metaphor, you can think, do they mean that literally? And if the answer is no, obviously not, it probably is metaphorical. So if someone says about their workplace, it's a sinking ship, you might ask, do they work on a boat? And since the answer is probably no, it's a metaphorical use. Second, realize that metaphors work by providing a framework for thinking, and other ideas may or may not fit in that frame. A politician, a media story, or an advertisement may use only the metaphors that fit with their purpose or ideology. So when you listen to them, remember there are other ways of thinking about whatever it is they are saying. Don't get trapped in their frame. And if you want to counter them, use a different frame if you can. Finally, when you're telling a story or trying to teach or convince someone, if someone doesn't get your metaphor or vibe with your frame, switch it up until you hit on one that they get. Wait, did I just use a sports metaphor? Anyway, if you want to make a point, be consistent and use the framing that resonates with your audience. That's the power of metaphor. Be aware of them and use them wisely. This video was developed as part of the Clarify Initiative, a privately funded project with the goal of raising critical language awareness and media literacy throughout society. It corresponds with Critical Language Awareness, Language Power Techniques and English Grammar, an open educational resource available through the University of Arizona. The authors of the video are John Reinhardt and Anuj Gupta of the University of Arizona English Department. Video production is by Pravesh Hingmang.